Welcome to Liddypod, Beatles banter with Bedford and Beasley.
So, Dave, we've been away for a while.
Who are you? I remember you from a breakfast a long time ago.
People have been shouting to me in the streets, thank goodness we haven't had any more Liddypods.
I've had lots of requests. Actually, lots of people requesting, saying, thank you for sparing us more Liddypods as well. So,
but despite the calls for no more Liddypods, we're back. We are back. It's been very, very busy, hasn't it, the last couple of months?
Oh, it's been absolutely crazy. Here, there and everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, write that down. That could be a song, couldn't it?
So, Dave, tell us what you've been up to.
I haven't the faintest idea. What have I been up to? It's been a mad summer. Summer's going on in Liverpool, so that's been great fun. One of my favourite things, I remember the first time, St George's Hall. We're going to talk about St George's Hall.
Yeah.
About this amazing neoclassical building, the greatest in the world. Not that we brag in Liverpool, but it is the greatest building ever. Do you remember when they first, after the hall got renovated and it got saved, because they were talking about demolishing it.
They were, weren't they?
Point,
yeah.
Shocking. And they unveiled the mint and tile floors. And I can remember going down with Alex after work, and in the Great Hall, it is just astonishing.
Yeah.
So it's open, I think it's this month only, I think just in August.
It is only in August, yeah. And the thing is that, people think, why did they cover it up? But it's been covered up since almost, when the hall was built, because I think they realised very early on that it was valuable. It was going to get damaged because, it was used for concerts and dances and all sorts of things. So it has actually been covered up for well over 100 years and only uncovered or revealed, as they refer to it, on very, very rare occasions. And you're quite right. We're in the middle of one of those very rare occasions at the moment.
It's great. It's amazing. And what I hadn't realised, I was talking to Alan Smith, who's now running St George's Hall. They got the world's first air conditioning.
That's
so
right.
You look at because of the sunken floor, and how they actually circulate in the air.
Yeah.
Just absolute genius, isn't it?
They were. And the other thing they did as well, and I think they have one of these examples there, obviously the vaulted ceiling.
Yeah.
The bricks that they were going to use were clearly going to be too heavy for the vaulting of the width of the vaulting. So very cleverly, they drilled holes through the middle of the bricks. So the rigidity would remain, but the weight of the brick would be significantly reduced. Very clever. Very clever. Yeah.
Genius. I thought one of the sad things was, because of course, the designer Harvey Lonsdale Elms, he didn't live to see it completed, did he? He died young.
Yeah, he died overseas. I think somewhere like Jamaica or somewhere like that. I think he might have died of consumption. I'm not too sure. Something like that. He was only 26 when he won the competition to build the building. But yeah, sadly he died at a fairly young age. Yeah.
And of course there were the two competitions.
Yeah.
Because he won the competition to build the Grand Ballroom because all the other major cities had them. So we've got to have one, obviously. And then the second competition, was it design, we need some law courts.
Yeah.
And he won that as well.
He won that as well, yeah. And then we ended up with the two together, which, as I often say to people, I don't think there's any other building in the world where you could be held in a cell, tried for murder, and have a dance.
And get married.
And get married now as well,
yeah. Registry office there as well.
As well. Yeah, you're right. So anyway, tell us, Dave, why you were in St George's Hall, apart from it being a brilliant building.
Well, a good friend of mine, Laura Lian, fantastic sculptor. I've known her for a number of years, and she's been working on this sculpture of John Lennon. And so it was getting its unveiling in St George's Hall. And you have this lovely backdrop of like the clouds. And you've got John standing there, and his arm is resting what at first just looks like a circle, but when you look at it, it's the peace sign.
Ah, right, yeah.
And it just, it's life-size. It's amazing. We'll put some photos on the YouTube so you can see the pictures with it as well, and on the website. And it's an incredible sculpture. And you go and you stand next to it, and you're looking John in the eyes. And it's a little bit unnerving because it is that good. It's that lifelike.
Yeah.
I thought, wow, this is amazing. And so what I thought I'd do is I'd talk to Laura and just try and find out why a sculpture of John, why the peace sign, and what brought her this far, because it's only in Liverpool, in St George's Hall, until the end of August.
Right.
Then we're not sure. It may go somewhere else outside in Liverpool, but then it looks like it's going to auction.
Right. So it could go anywhere then.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this is your interview with Laura Lian when she was here for the official unveiling.
Actually, in St George's Hall. Yeah.
You're listening to Liddypod, Beatles banter with Bedford and Beasley.
So, Laura, we're here at the launch and the great unveiling of the statue. Where did the idea start?
The idea. About 8 years ago, someone suggested I put the bronze bust of John Lennon that I did at the time on a peace sign. And I didn't know how that was going to work. And then it came to me, a full-size statue leaning on the peace sign. And so that's how the concept started.
Why John Lennon?
John Lennon, I've always been a fan of the Beatles. I was born in Cambridge, brought up in Toronto. I was a teen in the 60s with the big peace love thing. And we had Vietnam War, we had John and Yoko doing their peace mission and the Montreal bed-in. So I was really moved by all that going on. I wanted to do something. I remember thinking, what can I do to help the world? But we didn't have internet or anything in those days. But it's something that was at the back of my mind all the time, and the whole Vietnam War was going on in Toronto, even though I know the British were a little bit affected, but we were really affected because we had draft dodgers coming in to Toronto, and they were 18 years old, and they didn't have the vote at 21, not even drinking. Drinking age was 21. We used to hang out in bars in Toronto because we couldn't, not bars, sorry, cafes, because we couldn't get in the bars. And so we used to welcome the draft dodgers. There was about 30,000 reported that came from America to get out of the war in Vietnam.
Wow, so that's a lot of young people coming over the border.
That's right. And, you know, we were quite affected by it because it was just next door to us, the United States, and the injustice of sending young boys, young men out there to kill and to be killed, and they didn't even have a vote. So that all kind of built up in me of the horrors, and with John Lennon and his peace message, I was really I really was inspired by that, and was a big fan anyway of the Beatles. We used to love their accents, the Liverpudlian accents. Being Canadian, we thought it was all English, but we didn't know it was Liverpudlian accent per se.
Yeah, we're very different to the English.
Oh, different. Yeah. Definitely different.
So you've decided you're going to do a statue of John Lennon. How did you decide which pose, which time?
Well,
age?
What inspired me was Bob Gurren's photographs with the New York T-shirt, and the original concept was for New York with the shades and the T-shirt. But that was proving to take a long time, and I didn't have enough influence in America because I'm living over here now. And so I thought of doing a different one without the New York for Liverpool.
Great idea. So describe the pose. So it's John, obviously, as he would be in New York.
Yes.
But you wanted the peace sign incorporated.
So he's leaning on the peace sign, and in Bob Gurren's pictures, there's one where he's leaning on the wall. So it kind of gelled, and I thought, and then put Imagine. Originally, I had some of the words going around, and then I thought it doesn't need all that, just put Imagine. And so the whole purpose of the statue was to inspire another generation to John's peace message, because I was inspired as a teen in the 60s. So I think the youth of today, they're doing a great job with the climate crises. They could do a good job with the peace thing as well. So, because they got the internet. We didn't have the internet in the 60s. Yeah. I mean, how do you get organised then? I mean, I don't know how we did it, but we went to pop concerts, we went to protest marches, but there was no real connections like they've got now, which can make big changes in the world.
So. If you think back to those classic bed-ins that John and Yoko did.
Yes.
And people poked fun at him. And as John said, he was prepared for people to laugh at him if he got the message of peace across.
Absolutely, yeah.
We still talk about those now.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
it was genius.
Yeah, he was a genius, let's face it.
Yeah.
And I think he was heart-centered. He really believed in peace and love. And I think the love thing was, if you're not coming from a space of love, you're coming from a space of fear. And I think our systems are all based on fear, if you look at the way the news is and everything. And I really believe John knew that, and the way he came across, and him and Yoko together, we mustn't forget Yoko, because she was still doing it.
Yeah.
Bless her, like she's still championing the peace thing. And I think she's great, and I think they were a great team when they were together.
It's funny because the very first piece I ever wrote about the Beatles, which started me writing, was about Yoko giving a very generous donation to Dovedale School in John's memory.
Okay.
And I thought, people hear and talk about lots of negative things, but nobody probably knew about that. And I thought, I need to tell somebody that story.
Yes.
You know, and the amount that Yoko's done for Liverpool, I tell everybody and say, you have to understand what she's done. She doesn't have to do this. She could sit in the Dakota, count her money, and do nothing. But she chooses to contribute, particularly to Liverpool. So I suppose for you it's very special that the statue's been unveiled here in Liverpool.
Yeah, Liverpool, I love Liverpool. I just love it. The people are great. I love the sense of humour, everything. I can't understand some people's accents when they're talking.
Pardon? Sorry.
Yours isn't too bad. But my friend Amanda, my God. Oh, Laura, what do you look like? And I think, what? But she's lovely, and she just has to speak a little slower. But yeah, no, I believe that because it's his place of birth, there has to be one here, and hopefully one in New York where he died, you know, so tragically. And no, I always thought Yoko Ono and him were soulmates, and I believe his song "Imagine" was a gift for the world.
Oh, yeah.
You look at you hear those words. So many people are touched by the song all over the world, and yeah, no, I think they were a good team, and I salute Yoko for keep going with the mission.
Yeah. So have you had support from Yoko, from John's family?
No, I haven't. In fact, they know about Lennon Estate knows about it, and they weren't going to stop me or anything. But they don't know who I am. I could be some nutcase, you know. So I just continued with the project, and they were okay about it as long as I do a disclaimer and say it's independent, nothing, not endorsed or anything to do with them. And I just hope maybe one day when she sees it, she'd like it, because it was about his message, really. That's all it is. It's not a memorial. It's
a celebration.
It's a celebration
Yeah.
of his peace message, and it's to inspire new generations, I hope. So that's the whole reason behind it.
How do you go about actually doing a sculpture of this magnitude?
Well, it's like anything, it's a formula. It's like, how do you start your book, or how do you start your movie that you did? So I had to work with photographs, very difficult. It was really, it's hard when somebody's passed, and you thankfully he's got lots of photographs, but they span over decades, you know. So you got the young, chubby-faced John Lennon, and then you get the face where he's quite slim, and then it's just, the one I picked was the New York one, and to get that era, honestly, I reworked his face 100 times, and to be honest, I look at it and I think, oh, I could tweak it again, and sometimes you just have to let it go, but it's not easy to capture a portraiture of somebody dead and gone, but there are ways and means, so basically that's it.
And you know, it's the face of somebody a large majority of the world knows.
Yeah.
So that's sort of pressure as well.
It is. Oh gosh, yeah. I thought I'm going to be crucified by the fans if I don't get this right.
Yeah.
And thankfully, yeah, people seem to think it looks like him, so I'm happy.
Well, you do, and just chatting just before, and my test on anything like that is, if I can look away and think, I know who that is,
Yes.
then it succeeded.
Well, somebody could argue it's obvious because he's got the peace sign and glasses and all.
No, but you take one look and you know that's John Lennon.
And it's not just about the detail, it's the whole feeling that he was a heart-centered, and I just wanted to get a sense of his spirit as well in the statue, so it comes across as a feeling as well as just whether you got the nose quite right or the hair or the eyes, you know.
I also interesting with thinking of John Lennon and peace, but I think that set of photos that Bob Gruen did, John looked at peace with himself after many, many years of heartache. And I think, whether intentional or not, I think there's lots of peace that you've captured. I think you've got the peace campaign that John was for, but I think you've captured him at peace.
Yeah, I know
as
what
well.
you're saying.
He looked happy. He looked content at that stage.
I think so. He did have a childhood challenges, challenging childhood, and I think he realised that peace as well comes from within, and I believe that. You can have a warring mind, you know, two parts of you arguing, and I think John probably got over a lot of his. I think Yoko helped him, to be honest. I do. I mean, I'm presuming that you know better than me. You're the knowledgeable one, but I just get a sense that she was very good for him. I know she's got her critics, and they're the ones that think that she split the Beatles up. Well, I'm not even going there, but I feel they were a good soulmate unit, and they were on a mission, and so.
I think they're the only two who understood each other, who got each other.
Yeah, they did get each other. I 100% believe that. And you can see it. You know when you see the photographs, there's a great love there and an understanding. And definitely.
Yeah. So what's the plans for the statue from here?
Okay, so it's for sale. Do you want to buy it, David?
Okay.
You could remortgage for it. I'm looking for someone to buy, ideally in the perfect world, for Liverpool, and to have it in a park or somewhere peaceful. Okay, I know other people, Carmen thought St. John's like city centre. I don't know, I've left it to fate. And we'll just see how it unravels while it's here. But if anybody steps forward and wants to have it somewhere and has the money to pay me so I can pay all the people I borrowed back, because it was self-funded.
Wow.
I know.
That can't have been easy.
No. It's been challenging. A long and winding road to get to.
Write that one down. That could make a song. Are there any other ways that people can support you?
Well, they can go to the Just Giving site, and you can do a postcard as well. That's my nominated charity's War Child, because let's face it, the children are the fallout for war, especially in the Middle East and Africa at the moment. So some of the money goes to them, and from Just Giving, it would help me pay for some of my bills, because I'm still paying for it. And so it has been tough, but you know what? Sometimes you got to take a risk, and I thought, well, I've got to do this, because otherwise I'm getting older now. You know, how many years have I got left to do it? So,
Well, you've done an absolutely amazing job, and thank you for bringing it to Liverpool.
Thank you, David. It's been wonderful to talk to you, and thank you for doing this with me, this interview. Thanks.
My pleasure.
This is Liddypod, Beatles banter with Bedford and Beasley.
So, Dave, that was you talking with Laura Lian on a recent visit when this John Lennon statue, this peace statue, was officially unveiled in St George's Hall.
Yeah, and it's a fascinating story of, being from the UK but growing up in Canada. And that story of those lads wanted to avoid the draft of going to Vietnam, were escaping over the border. And that's what she was growing up around. And you can understand, I think, from anybody of that generation, particularly if you were in the United States or in Canada, the Vietnam War was huge. I mean, I think it was, bringing it back to the Beatles, as a pop group from Liverpool in the UK, they were asked about America's involvement in the Vietnam War. You think, when did the crossover happen?
Yeah, because I mean, prior to that, I mean, pop stars, they were almost, they were just created. People wrote songs for them. They put them on stage, and they sang the song. And you wouldn't dream of really asking for a contribution out of a political issue, would you?
No, you'd ask, what do you have for breakfast?
Yeah.
What's your haircut called?
Yeah.
Isn't the famous one. And there's sort of vacuous questions which they must have got so bored with. But then, as you're saying, they just seem to be, okay, what about the Vietnam War? And they were keen to get involved. Even when we look at the whole thing with segregation.
Yeah.
They refused to play to a segregated audience. A pop group from Britain says we're not playing to a segregated audience. And they won.
Yeah.
What a statement that is. So I think that's the time when they realised the influence they had. And of course then John and Yoko do their bed-ins, which even if people think, oh, John's a lunatic, he's mad, whatever, he said he was quite happy to do that. He said, let people laugh at me if it promotes peace. And here we are, 50 years later, we are still talking about man and wife who've just got married being in bed for a week.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So there's the power there. So it was interesting getting Laura's take on that and why she's such an advocate for peace.
Brilliant. That's great. So it's on display in St George's Hall only till the end of this month. You can see it online, obviously, and we will, as Dave said, post some photographs on the YouTube channel. But Dave, just before we go, tell us about what's coming up on the next one, because you've also done a much longer interview with somebody else, haven't you?
Yeah, it's a good friend of mine, Jude Kessler. She's an author from the US, and she's writing a 9-volume series, which possibly looks like it's going to 10. She's devoting her life to writing the story of John Lennon's life. But, and this is what's particularly special about her, is she wasn't content with just reading other people's books. From quite early on, she started coming to Liverpool and she was interviewing the people who were around there at the time. And so those interviews are reflected in her books. And she has a real passion for the city. Every time I go over to see it, I give her a few copies of the Liverpool Echo. and she'll sit there and read it cover to cover.
Yeah.
So she's like an adopted Scouser. But fascinating with her story, again, of why she decided to write about John Lennon. So, interview coming up next on that one.
Brilliant. Okay. So, absolutely great. We won't leave as long next time. We'll be back shortly, but it has been a very, very busy year. And we're in a very busy period at the moment, aren't we? As we're just about to come to the end of August with Beatle Week and everything else.
Yeah.
So it is very, very busy. But great interview there with Laura Lian. Go on the YouTube site and have a look at the photographs there. And for the next Liddypod, a long interview, a great interview about the author who's writing potentially 10 volumes on John Lennon. Thanks very much, Dave.
Thank you very much. Speak to you very soon.
You've been listening to Liddypod, Beatles banter with Bedford and Beasley.